What up, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing? This is your main man in the building, Corey Espin. Y'all know what it is. It's another episode of The Couch. And we got a very interesting episode of The Couch because I got a very special guest in the building. This month is actually Foster Awareness Month. And a lot of you are saying, what is Foster Awareness Month? Well, we're going to get into the lifestyle of foster parenting and what it is behind it, what makes people go into it, and being educated on it. Because there's a lot of things that we might not know, you know, because we think when it comes to parenting, we probably have the book figured out. Because even with parenting, we don't have the book figured out. But today, we're going to get educated on it, what it is to be a foster parent. And I got a very special guest in the building, Lamar Alcorn. How you doing, brother?
Thank
Glad
you.
you could be here. And it's a very special guest because that is my brother-in-law, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? So definitely got him in the building today. So we're going to, first of all, we'll let Lamar tell us a little bit about him, where he's from, and what actually got him into fostering.
All righty. Well, I'm definitely glad and excited to be here, you know, for you to have me on your platform.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we got to spread this awareness, and we got to let people know, you know, because a lot of people are misinformed on foster care, adoption, and all that. So, yeah, for me, you know, I'm here in Texas. I've been fostering for about 4 years now. And I got into it just, I guess, anytime that you ask people, like people will ask, they'll say, hey, what made you want to do this? And most people will say, oh, well, like if you ask any of my close like friends or even some of my family, they'll say, oh, he's always said he wanted to do it. But I never really recalled that, you know. But yeah, I mean, we grew up, me and my sister, you know, we grew up with kids all around us. You know, we always had our mom, you know, ran a daycare. So so us to always have that community of like having kids and, you know, just people around us, you know, that you're caring for somebody that's not yours. That's kind of what we were always.
Was it kind of the thing where like your mom became like the neighborhood mom, or where other kids would just kind of relate to her and be like, mom. I don't
know about the mom part.
The mom part.
But I mean, you know, we were always out, you know, so, you know, she really, you know.
Here's a question I do want to ask that I may not know. Is there a difference between adopting and fostering, or is it just a language in there?
It's a big difference, because with adoption, of course, you are really like it's a lot of legality to it, you know. So you are going out there to get, you know, whether it's domestic or international, you are, you know, trying to find that kid, that special child to call yours forever. Whether someone, you know, gave their child up, or they went to foster care into the system, and then they're going to be transitioned into adoption. There's many avenues for it. I will say I know more about adoption based off of the people that I know adopted. But for me, people will automatically assume, because I'm a foster parent, you're adopting them and stuff, or when are you going to get to adopt them? It doesn't really work like that. And then as a foster parent, you are licensed, and you go through training and all this other stuff to, you know, just take care of kids who are in the system that, you know, their parents may have gave them up, or their parents aren't, you know, doing right, their lifestyle's not right, and so they get, you know, taken. So I'm dual licensed, so I'm a foster parent and I can adopt as well. So if a child, I can either kind of go and just adopt, you know, in another way, or I can adopt through my agency, whether that's I think like single case adoption, where they come into, in case I'm wrong, but they can come into the system, and then like it's like rights are terminated from like the jump, and so that child will be yours, you know. But
so it becomes a legal matter, like you're legally becoming the parent of the child now.
Yes,
and I think a lot of people don't get the difference between that too, because a lot of people can be the biological parent but not be the legal parent.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to, you know, like you'll see movies in which like down the line that the mother comes back or whatnot, you know, want to find their kid, and, you know, you kind of have that imbalance of, okay, well, yeah, you are biologically my mother, but legally you
these
know,
are my parents.
Yeah, and then most kids only know that person that raised them as, you know, as their parent.
That's my parent.
Especially for for kids that don't know. Like I even have close friends that, you know, they found out that, you know, their parent wasn't their parent, like their dad wasn't their real dad, or, you know, and, you know, I think to know that later on in life is worse as if you learned it when you were young, you know? Yeah. And I think that's one thing that in my mind, in the back of my mind, is brings hesitation, because I'm like, I don't want to be in that position to tell them that you're adopted, especially when it's a child, like, you know, like when I had the baby, like I wanted to have her, you know, forever, but it didn't work like that. And I would think, like, how would I go about this? And you know, it just didn't work that way. And I feel like one thing that people will say that it's not a misconception, but and I don't even want to say it's annoying, but one of the worst questions that I can be asked is like, how long will they be with you? Like when you foster, how long will they be with you, or when can you adopt them?
And this is from like when you're acquiring the children. So they want to know.
They want to know stuff from the jump, and I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. You don't. There's no time limit on when these kids.
You might feel differently. You might get a kid, man, and you fall in love, and you say, what is the longest you can keep a kid in the foster?
It can go a minute, and I'm thankful that I have not had the journey that some people that I know have, because they're like, you can go into like permanency where you have. Like the child, like the case is over, but they're still working out things. So, permanency is when you have it's like having a joint custody between you and the actual parent. Right. And some people I know do that, but I would never want to experience that, because that's a lot. That's a lot of emotion. That's a lot of that, because, you know, I have the child Monday through Friday. You have them on the weekends, you know, because you're still working to get your child back, or to still be in their life. But Monday through Friday, this child's mine, you know, so I could never do that. Or most of the time, I think the longest placement I had was the one I just came out of, which I had 4 kids. I originally started off with 1. It was a huge sibling set, and the case went on for almost 2 years. And yeah, that was the longest. I've never had a child that long, for almost 2 years.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people may want to know this. Mm-hmm. That's got to be one of the hardest things in America when you think about it, because say you go in there and you sit down, you acquire this one kid, and you find out they have siblings. And now some part of you saying, I don't really want to break this family up.
Yeah.
But that could be a lot.
But that's actually what I had to think of, because when it was like 8, it was 8 in the set. Even though some were steps, some were, you know, kind of, you know, how they were broken up, but I had got one of the boys when I was supposed to get like 2 of them, and then they ended up splitting all the kids up, and I ended up working to get his stepsisters.
Wow.
And I had never had more than 2 kids before, so I'm like, now I got 3, you know. And then after they left, I just still had him, and his siblings were still out there. They're still getting visits. So when you do foster kids, they still get visits, visitations. Their parents' rights have not been terminated, and they are being they get to see them like once a week or whatnot. And so I think maybe about a year into it, I realized after his step siblings went home, because even though there were 8 kids, there were 3 parents involved. So it was 2 mothers and a father, even though that there were other people involved, but the main gist of the case was surrounding these 3 parents.
Right.
And but when I realized how much he struggled not being with the rest of his siblings, was when I thought, I said, hey, you know what, I should think about take them all. Take them all. And he had 3 other siblings that were actually like blood related, versus the other 3 that were, you know, step siblings. And
imagine that being real hard.
And you know what? Shout out to the caseworker who she stuck with me, because I had thought about getting, because before I did, I had a newborn, so I had the one I had, and then I had got another placement, which was a newborn. And that, like, I loved it, but it was so hard because I never had a newborn before. Not
about up all night.
Yeah, up all night,
Changing diapers.
And I took FMLA leave for it, and that 6 weeks went by, and it was a lot. But I learned that I cannot. Shout out to all the foster parents, adoptive parents, or even just parents that homeschool kids in general. That's not for me. It's not for me. I did it a week, and I said, brother, man, you got to go to school. I can't do it, because I was actually, people don't know, is I had a lot on my plate. I worked about 40 miles. I commuted to work, so I worked 40 miles away, and my kids, were going, we're here in Dallas, and so I would drive back and forth, to work, to provide and all that stuff, and
that could wear you down.
Yeah. And so when I went on leave, and I'm like, okay, well, I had him in school where I worked, so he would drive with me to work. I'd take him to school, I go to work, and then we come back. But when I was actually home, I couldn't drive 40 miles to take him to school, so I had to take him out. And when I tell you, I say, I can't do this. This is hard. I don't have the patience to be taking care of an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old and then an infant and trying to do school and stuff. And it didn't work, so I enrolled him.
All those doctor's appointments. Let me ask you something. So there was something else that I was thinking about, and this could be an educational moment. Mm-hmm. So in the fostering process, those kids are really trying to get back home to their parents or go through the adoption process.
Yes.
Right.
And even though that the adoption thing is something that a lot of caseworkers, well, not caseworkers, the lawyers, the child's attorney at LIDM, they will throw that out there. Like, oh, so are you thinking about adopting? And I'm like, they have to ask the question so it can be in your head to think about, because if it don't go right, then then they got to fall back on something. And family reunification in fostering is the number one goal. So when the kids are taken, we are like the agencies, they are trying, the CPS, they are trying to get that family back together, whether it is through their actual parents or anyone within that circle, whether it's a grandma, uncle, cousin, an older sibling that's an adult, and don't have
see those in a lot more cases now, where the older sibling kind of take their younger siblings in.
Yeah, and I will, I definitely, and I feel like this is something that I will say to anyone that's listening. Most of the time you have people who, how can I say, they may have a family member that actually got their kids taken away.
Right.
You have to be involved. You don't, if you, like, most of the time there's so many parents out there, other kinship, other kinship out there that really could step in and take care of these kids. And it's sad when you see that, like, these kids, well, actually, I don't even say that. Scratch that. If anything, I think CPS should do better at finding their kinship, because, if you're about to take these kids, then you might need to see who else is available that they can go to before we just rip their lives apart.
Right.
And especially because we all got family, we all got people, but sometimes our family's not willing to take in the family.
That could be a lot, especially if it's like multiple kids.
Yeah, multiple kids.
And I pray you say a situation where somebody's already struggling with some kids, and now I want to help my cousin, man, but man, that's a lot to burden.
Yeah,
and you probably, because the family member doesn't get help with that, right? There's no assistance other than
they actually do have assistance that
educate.
There is some sort of assistance. I can't pinpoint the exact type of assistance, but there is assistance that they will get, because it's different from what foster parents would get. Whether, like there are resources for everybody pretty much, and it will come, but gotcha. You have to work with a caseworker or CPS to know what kinship placement what can be done for you.
Gotcha.
And I will say that when I first came into fostering, I never knew of all the stuff that, I don't even say benefits, but the opportunities or the different resources that can help you. I didn't know that that you got assistance. I didn't know none of that. There's so much that people don't know that can help you. And me being a single foster parent, I was getting by. I didn't know that there were foster closets that you can that will give you clothes and necessities and stuff. There are in your handbook for the Medicaid that they give you. There's so much stuff. If you read and you call, there's a lot of stuff like Medicaid buses, gas reimbursement, different stuff for just appointment related things. There's so many resources. You have to educate yourself.
That's what I did. Like, two of my kids, I ended up having custody of and raising in the house. And when I got the first thing I did was ran down and I was like, hey, I want everything that the women get. No. She was like, well, fill this out. I ain't going back nowhere. I'm going to fill it out and get it back to you right now because I want all that. And I just started learning about so much stuff that I had access to help me with it from, just like you said, Medicaid and doctor's appointments, gas reimbursement and stuff like that. And even, a lot of people think the child tax credit thing is kind of just started, but it was always things in place that would have helped you within that process. Yeah. So
there's so much that can be done for you in regards to assistance and help. But to think that you're going to be a foster parent and make money, no.
Gotcha.
It don't work like that. Because there's a lot of stuff that you are going to come out of pocket for that will not be reimbursed. I will say that like daycare is paid for, but you have to go through a lot to get it. And some caseworkers drag their feet. Well, not the caseworkers like the agency workers, but the CPS workers will drag their feet because you need stubs. You have to work at least 40 hours, and it's a lot of paperwork, stubs, all that stuff. But for me, I had one case CPS worker that dragged her feet, and about for half of the time that I had the child, I was paying out of pocket when she really could have pushed my paperwork through in order for me to not have to pay for it.
And it's crazy. It seems like they would want to advance something like that.
Yeah.
Especially, seeing that you stepping up and helping them in the situation. It really takes a lot of the burden off of them.
Yeah.
Because, if you can find a child and place them somewhere with somebody that really cares, then why wouldn't you want to give them access to the resources that help them?
And I have stipulations and like my deal breaker. So I will tell them, like, if I'm getting a child that is in that age where they can be in daycare, I was like, I'll do this, but I need to make sure that you're gonna give me my off the muscle. When I get that call, I'm like, I need
no 6 months down the road now.
Because it took my first placement for me to like my trial and error for me to know what I could do, what I could not do, what was there for me, what wasn't. Like that was my time to know, okay, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I can learn about this, I educated myself more during that first year. So now most of my agencies, they're like, oh, like that's one foster parent that you like, he be on his stuff. Like I made a name for myself with just be on top of my things. And because they're like, oh, I wish there were more foster parents like you, and so like for me, it took so much for me to get to where I am. And I will say that if you told me what I would have had to endure when I was thinking about doing this, it might scare you away. And one thing is that, like, you asked how I got into it with my mom being, a daycare worker or whatnot, run her own daycare. But for me, I was working at a children's home. I was seeing kids come through, that were just taken, and they had this home in which they could place them until they got to a foster home. And children's homes aren't as common as they used to be, but they're out there, but they're scarce. And just to see that revolving door of kids that, got so attached to, and I'm like my heart was just pouring out for them. And for me to finally get that ding, like, I can do this. And the people at the children's home in Wichita, shout out to y'all, Miss Sheila, Lisa, Nicole, all of them, I am thankful for any opportunity they gave me and all the knowledge they gave me, because they were actually the ones that helped me. They were my references. They, and they even told me about the agency. They gave me they told me the best ones. And the one I'm with is PCHAS, which is Presbyterian Children's Home and Services. And I will say that they're faith-based, they're Christian-based, and everything that I did had to line up, with with having a pastor and stuff like the reference. Like, it was a lot, but I loved it. And the training, in order to get into it, you have to go to class. It's like almost like school,
right?
But it's like a 6-week course, or most agencies are different. But mine, it was 6-week course, and you had a lot of assignments that you had to do, turn in. Different things that you had to, just give. Like, you are giving yourself to them. It's not privacy. It's, you're exposed. You gotta, you gotta put yourself out there. They want to know everything about you. They want to know what traumas you endured. It's everything, because if you're about to take kids with traumas and behaviors and stuff,
we need to know that you ain't gonna be triggered and flip out.
Exactly. You have to be able to handle it, because there are kids that are gonna come in there with some pain, with some hurt, and you gotta be strong enough to handle it. I'm
glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, because I had somebody close to me. I ain't gonna say no names. We gonna pull this out. They had a home. I had some foster kids. And we was traveling one day, and a foster kid was kind of big, said stuff to me. So in my head, I'm thinking, when my kids talk to me like this, I'm do this. So, I had a reaction. We got to talk about it. I told her what happened. He's like, nah, man, you can't do that. You can't put your hands on the kid like that.
You can't handle him any kind of way. You got to handle him.
I mean, did you hear what this kid, at the time, the kid was like 6'2". I'm like, I'm not going to let this. He's like, nah, man, you might have got me some stuff, man. And let's talk about these rules and regulations, man, these restrictions, man.
The rules
because
and regulations.
They're asking you to essentially take on a teenager or a child, and most parents.
And that's 0 to 17, y'all.
And you knowing, I'm knowing that I done had to punch my kids in the head a couple times. So now I'm taking some kids that I have no idea where they came from or what their genetics like.
Yeah.
And now I'm fin to raise them for a particular time, or maybe the rest until they age out.
Because you do know they can get everything wrong when you get a call. Because when your home opens and your agency calls you, it can be any time, any day, any minute, and they'll give you a quick snapshot of the child. Oh, you might be a 3-year-old. I had or a 4-year-old. I said yes to a 4-year-old and walked a 2-year-old. Or they can say, this child is Caucasian, 10 years old, female. It can walk in. It can be a boy. They can have a lot of information wrong, and they do not tell you about behaviors in case that child really has some, and and so they'll tell you, this child may struggle with bipolar, or this child may have this or that. But I will say that I have preferences. So, I only will take this age group, or I might not take girls. I'll take boys, because I actually never took in girls until the 9-year-old I had, and that was the first girl I ever took. And she had a lot. She came with a lot.
I saw your eyes.
And then also, and before I really get into, it's gonna bleed right in. I'm black. I'm African American.
Right.
She was white. She's Caucasian. From an area in Texas that it might not really we don't sit well with.
You one of them.
So what do you think when people saw me with this child? I didn't care what people thought, but just to kind of be on the outside looking in, you walking with this girl, she don't look like nobody need to be around somebody black, or vice versa. But when I tell you, she opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and to know how to deal with a troubled child. She was 9 years old. She had a trauma at the doctor that just ruined doctors for her. And when I tell you, I actually had to put her in an institution. Wow. And that was one of the hardest experiences that I've ever been through as a foster parent, because I didn't, you don't know what I can't say I didn't sign up for this, because I did. But for me to have to put her in there, she, and I visited her every day for the time she was in there, and it broke my heart, because it was she was like a zombie. And it was just like, and then when I did talk to her, it was just like talking, I was like talking past her, like talking, not like, it was hard. But I tell you, she had her moments when she did act out. You can't pop him, you can't do nothing like that. And I tell you, like,
black people just drop their head.
It'll test you, and she tested me. But mind you, I had a great caseworker at that time that I call her, and most of the time caseworkers will say, "Oh, you can call me anytime." They really don't want you to call you anytime, but it's not really an option. But I called her anytime. I said, "Look, this is what I'm dealing with. She's doing this. Okay, well, try doing this." Like, I learned a lot of restraint. Just to not have an outburst, to not, okay, no, they ain't gonna be like that, but I learned so much because she was tough. But at the end of the day, when she went home, it was bittersweet. It was like, you know what? I said, you know what? Because we kind of had, we had a lot of distance, even though I took care of her, but we just did not, we weren't always on the same page. She's nine-year-old, but I tell you, that day that she left, I said, you know what? I said, come here, give me a hug. Mind you, men aren't always as nurturing, and I had to learn to be nurturing. And I'm like, we know how we were raised, but I was like, you know what? Come here, give me a hug. And I was just like, you be good, you do right by your aunt, and know that I care for you. May not have seemed like that with what you gave me, but I had a, and I mean, like I said, the things that you can't do, you can't whoop them, you can't hit them, you can't do nothing, you can't. No,
even if they strike you back, strike you first.
No, you can't. There are ways. We are trained in ways to protect ourselves in those moments. Even though some folk, you might forget that all that training went out that door the minute you came at me, but if you don't want to risk losing you don't want to risk losing your license or being investigated. And when I tell you, this is something that I don't talk about, but I need to, because you don't, I had one moment in which I was under investigation at my first year, and this was actually what made me almost give up being a foster parent, because. And I think it was the mom because most parents are upset that you're taking care of the child, maybe even better than them. But it was an allegation, a physical allegation. And I was like, you know what? When they came, well, how they did it was bad, because they're saying, I got a call, and my caseworker at the time, she was like, you're being put under investigation, and we have to go get the kids. And because they won't tell you who said it, but I'm thinking that mom didn't like me. She didn't, and I'm black and she was black. And I'm like, we supposed to be helping, I'm
actually looking out for you.
I'm looking out for you. And I just, everything added up from, I just remember things, things that you don't remember will come back to you when you're in certain situations. And when I tell you, I know it had to been her that had made the allegation. And the thing is, that day when they took, now and I can say I could be in that position of having something taken from me, in that sense, like a child taken from me, because I had them too. And when I tell you, I couldn't even say goodbye to them. Like, they just took them. They took them from me, And I'm like, you can't tell me. At the end of the day, that child may not be yours biologically, but you couldn't tell me that wasn't my kid. And so the fact that what hurt me was that I did not get to say goodbye to them. They just took them. And so it was a maybe 3-day investigation. The lady came to me, the CBS people came to me, looked at my home. The process wasn't bad, but it was just a process you don't want to be in. And when that lady came to me and told me, she said, Mr. Alcorn, I'm so sorry that I even have to do this, that I even have to come and investigate your home. I apologize, because I don't see nothing wrong. She asked, how do you discipline? I'm telling her everything that I've learned, everything that I've dealt with. And she was just like, I can't believe I even got to do this, because I can see in your heart, in your eyes, that that you are a genuine foster parent. You don't know how many investigations that I've been in which this is like, it was real stuff, but then you're going to take someone who you can see it, and you can judge a person, not even judge, but you can just see a person's true character, even just by their demeanor or just what they give off. And she made me feel so good that day, because she was like that light at the end of the tunnel. And I prayed, I was like, Lord, get me through this, because I don't ever want to experience this again. And this makes you want to stay on top of your stuff, even when you do get in a situation where you're going to be tried. It's all about how you handle it. Right. But it was within 3 or 4 days, and by the 4th day, my child returned back to me. But I had 2 different placements, but they took them both together, and they were in respite. And when I tell you, they came, only one came back to me. And that I'm trying not to even tear up now. That, like, I was thankful, but I was thankful that one of them came back to me. But that second one, like, just how they did it was horrible to me. And so I could say I knew what that felt like, you know? And looking back, it made me stronger. It made me knew how to handle it. And I did not want to talk about it. I didn't. I didn't want to say anything, because I felt like I had failed, you know. I felt like that. And just to know that, like, it took a long time for me to even tell anybody, because I felt like I'd be judged, like I did something wrong, and I didn't. But it gave me that wake up, like, you know what? My case manager came to me and she said, you know what, Lamar, don't give up. Like, you have a gift. You have something in you that, like, you're supposed to do this. And even today, on this, sitting here talking to you, like, I look back at how far I've come. I've had 12 kids in the last 4 years. It's just me with, the support of my friends and family. And I will say that what you said, there's no book to being a parent. There's no manual. And I've learned that it's the people around me. It's the people that, you know, will come at a drop of a dime. The ones that answer their phone call. Like, they are your manual. They are your community. The community, so good to have people in your corner, because I tell you, if I didn't have people in my corner and people that were going to lift me up and push me and got me through a lot of stuff, I wouldn't have been able to continue doing that at that hard time. I don't think I'll be shedding no tears. I'll be crying now, but it's real.
It's a thing that, first of all, we can appreciate the vulnerability, because for you to be this authentic about this moment is a moment you can tell that you've been wanting to get off and talk to somebody about, you know, in a way, because it can be particular, because you don't know what comes with that. But to get it out there, because sometimes people don't understand. They think it's just, I'm just going to grab some kids, move, and then life moves on. No. But you get attached. You do. You get emotional with that, because, you know, you don't just get these kids and just get it, like you said, for whatever's going on, because it ain't about the money with you.
No,
the fact that
it's about a real connection. Like, you're with these kids every day, you know, and that's even with the last kids I had. Like, I was with them every day, had them every day, and they had to learn when they went back to their mom. They had to relearn their mom, and their mom had to relearn them. So it's just like it's that deep. It really is, y'all. It is. It's that deep, and I'm thankful for the journey. There's so much. And you know, even now, I'm getting ready to open back up, y'all. So I've been on a break ever since, my last 4 had left. And, you know, I've just been living life and just kind of doing a lot of different things, and just, you know, enjoying myself. But I don't like to get out of my system. I don't like to get out of my routine, because when I tell you, for me to be one person to take care of all the kids that I've taken care of, like, that's when people are like, man, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you did it. And I don't, like, even I still talk to the kids that I had, you know, and their mom, and she was like, I don't know how you did it, Lamar. I don't, you know. So I'm thankful for every step. I'm thankful for every journey. And it makes me realize that I'm doing this for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I'm a foster parent for a reason. This was not by chance, because they always say you're opening up your heart and you're opening up your home. And I'm like, I don't even know how I do it, but I do it,
This is like this weight was lifted off.
Because I'm thankful that people can hear my story, because there's so much to being a foster parent that people don't know about, and I'm thankful that we have this. Just like the shirt I'm wearing, like breaking the mold, single and foster, and that's my blog, that's my podcast, it's my life, because. And I actually got this name because when I first went into doing this, she was like, we don't get many men, that come through here. And she said, you know what? Oh, and I was one of the fastest people to finish the course and everything. And she said, so you know what? You're doing something that a lot of people don't do. She's like, you're breaking the mold. And I said, man, it just stuck with me. And then next thing you know, I said, you know what? I'm going to document this journey. So I started writing and blogging, and then did that for 2 years. And I still do it, but it was during the pandemic in which I was like, I want to podcast this, and I want to let people hear, because I might be able to convey it better with my words than I am on paper. Yeah. And I'm all snotty nose and stuff. But yeah, that's the podcast is what really made people could really hear my story and the different things. And I don't think I ever talked about all the other stuff, but each piece by piece, bit by bit. And so now I'm at the point where I'm glad that, that we talked, and you're giving me this platform on your platform, because I'm ready to let people see me. And I hid behind, my podcast and stuff. I never had pictures of me or nothing like that. I hid behind it because I wasn't ready to just share myself, because, it's a lot. But now I'm like, folk got to know what it really takes. Right. Folk got to see. You got to be able to see in order to know. Yes. And I'm like I said, it's not easy doing it. And I will say that most people will say, "Oh, I could never be a foster parent. I can never do it. I get too attached." That's the one thing I hate to hear, because it's not about, I wouldn't say it's not about getting attached. It's about the need. There's so many kids out there that need a home. They need love. They need care. And I think it's selfish to say that, oh, I get too attached. No, it's not even about the attachment. It's about helping these kids. Yes, you will get attached, but the more you do it, the more, the easier it gets. The goodbye gets easier. And then if you're able to stay in contact with the parents, that's a good thing. And I had maybe my first 2 placements I never saw again, but I ended up seeing later, but it just, it's because it has to be a selfless thing. It has to be, because it has to stick about what is the need that this child needs, and what am I doing to fulfill those moments with them. And that ain't so much about me. You know what I mean? I think one of the things is, thank you. I know, man. I needed it. So many people have so many ideas about what should happen and how we come across this life form and what we should be doing. But I think one of the things that we're learning from you today is, no matter who you are or what you do, when you get involved in a moment like this, it's a very real thing, and a lot can happen. And you were at the mercy of a lot of things what biological parents face. Yeah. And, when you just talked about the last story and shared with us how the kids were snatched away, that did something to you. Mm-hmm. And for that moment, it's more like, yo, what did I do wrong? Did I fail them? Did I fail what was happening? Where did this go? And then you had to reevaluate a lot of things. And a lot of people say, man, well, if you don't have kids, you don't understand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I don't think nobody can actually come to you and say, you don't understand, because you went through all the same emotions that a biological parent went through. Exactly. And folks would always have, well, I get it, but you don't really get it, but you don't get it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't get it. And I think one of the things that and I'm glad when you first brought this to me, I thought it was an excellent chance, because like I said, I've known people that have adopted, and I've known people that have run foster home, and I never really paid attention, you know.
And I saw some of the kids that come through, but it never dawned on me, what do they actually deal with? Because, you know, when you stuck there with your own kids and you know how remedial your kids can be sometimes and how can they work your nerves, but it's like now you got somebody stepping up to the plate to take some kids they might not absolutely know nothing about.
Yeah.
And now
you learn more along the way. That's the thing, because even with the kid I had that was the longest kid that was in my home, and I had so much challenges with him. Like, he had a lot of emotional baggage from past things. He had learning disabilities. Like, it was a lot to deal with him. And I'll even admit I had never been to the point where I was ready to give a child back. But with him, because it was to the point where just because of your hurt, you're willing to hurt. Yeah. And I was at the point where, like, he just completely went off the wall with me, and in front of the CPS people, everything. And I'm just like, I can't have this kid because of your hurt, you're trying to hurt me purposely, and I haven't even done nothing wrong. Right. But I had to learn that I called my kids. I was like, look, he got to go. That's what I said. I was like, he got to go, because it's just I can't take him. I can't handle him.
And it's not bad, because most people think, you know, when you say something like that, it's like, oh, but most biological parents, I mean, I was in that position, you know, and I've shared this story across the public before. You know, my son battled before I got custody of him. You know, he was diagnosed with ADHD, but, you know, come to find out when we really started going through the ringer of things, he was misdiagnosed. Oh, wow. Not on top of that, I found out, you know, when he was younger before, you know, because I missed the first 7 years of his life. And I found out that he had been molested, you know. And so at the cost of that, when that thing spiraled out of control, it really went there. Yeah. From him going through that, me finding out that him then trying to commit suicide on 2 different occasions. Wow. And you know, I shared the story to tell people I was on the road. I was on tour at the time. I got one of the call and going out on stage and finding out my son just tried to kill himself. And they got him in this room, and I just, you know, broke down because, you know, and coming back and dealing with it, I ended up having to put him into a home. I had to put him into a group home, a hospital. I had to put him into the hospital to really get him checked out. And I found out, you know, then he was bipolar, manic depressive, and he was suffering from what they call DMDD, which is dysregulated mood deregulation disorder. And which made more sense because he went through these phases of mood. And just like you said, I went to when I committed him to the hospital, the behavior hospital, I told him in our first interaction, I said, man, listen, I need y'all help because I'm at a point that if y'all don't do something, I may kill this kid. That's how bad things had gotten, you know what I mean, with it. And so when you say something like, you know, I was ready to sit this back. Most parents will never admit that, but sometimes we be wanting, I'm going to send this kid
back. And I was honest with it, but the thing about it is that after talking, because it's not easy, I will tell you, it's not easy to give a child back. And I feel that in certain situations, like, it should not have to be that drastic for CPS to like say, okay, we got to move this kid, because they had no problem moving them when y'all was trying to accuse folk. Right. But when I'm dealing with this child who's getting to that point,
and I'm saying
I need help.
Well, let us figure something out. Like, you sure?
You know, and but you know what? I realized that I could not give up on him, because because that means that if I gave him back and I end up getting another kid, next child could be worse. So I have to learn how to handle it. Even I was like, even there were days I'm like, I can't. Like, he had points where he was doing all this lying, and it was too much. So I was like, no, I said, I can't. Like, you're going to jeopardize things because I can't have no kid that's going to be lying on me. Right. You know, and I had to teach him lessons on what not to do, like to not lie and stuff. And like I said, he had like an adjustment disorder too. So because he had been taken before, he came into my care, and I never had to deal with. I had to deal with lice heavily and wet in the bed and you wrong. Oh, so I was like, oh no, you ain't gonna tear my mattress, my sheets, you know. But I learned, and trust me, I got him past that. I got him through that, and he ain't had to deal with that no more. And that just shows me, like, I couldn't give up. I had to keep fighting because I couldn't give up on that child. And that's good that you said I needed help, because we have to listen to people. Because if you don't, like, you know, don't brush nothing off. You know, don't ever brush nothing off, because you don't know what that one thing you could do to help somebody. You know, just listen. When people need to talk, listen. You know, but yeah, I tell you, like, I'm glad that I didn't give up on him, because even though that he was a child that I was just like, oh, I can't deal with it. But we had a lot of beautiful moments too. Right. And at the end of the day, we shared a lot of things, because I love music. And I'm talking, if your kid, you come to my house, you gonna know every song I sing. Like, you gonna be a better singer than me. Right. You know, but
not only that, because his hallway, I saw it. The whole hallway is a music hall.
Yes. My whole hallway is a music hall, and I love it. And it shows you, when people, especially when like the caseworkers came to my house and they saw, they're like, man, like it opens up my personality. It lets you know that, hey, like, you know, he's personable. He has things that interest and stuff. And, you know, I'm the type of person, like, I'll spoil a child. Like, Christmas is my favorite time. I love presents. I love gifts. I love that time. Like, or even like birthdays, which I never really got to experience too many birthdays with the kids, because of when the times that they left, I never got to have parties. I only got to have 2 parties, I believe. My first one and then my last one. And we went out, like, we went all out. Like, I loved it. You know, the fact that now, because I had kids. My first placement was 2. The second one was 2. Then my other one was 5 and a 6-month-old. Then I had the 7 and 6 and 7. And then I had 2, 3 and 11 and 8. Like, my age is varied, and I had a newborn. Gotcha. But this time I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to move on to having older kids. Not like full on older, like 17, 16, but like, you know, like maybe like 10 to 15. Yeah. That's the age I'm at now, because I like to go places. I like to have fun, and it's not easy having a baby, finding a babysitter, because with agencies you have to run fingerprints, background checks, paperwork. So just not anybody can watch your kid. Yeah. And
the older ones can feed themselves.
You know, so it's kind of like there's a lot of stuff that you got to do to, you know, have people in your circle. That's why when I first became a foster parent, I found it was like, are you willing to come along on this journey with me? Are you, you know, because, you know, my sister, like she's been, one of the people who's watched my kids the most, you know, more than my mama probably. She just, you know, but she, you know, she had to be ready. You know, my parents had to be ready. My best friends, all of them, they had to be ready. Right. You know, and but like I said, I'm at that point now where I need older kids, because I like to get up and go. I'm kind of done wiping tails and taking for the bathroom. You need to be able to go on your own, you know. So, and then I like to have fun. I like to go places, like, you know, to go do things. And now I need kids that can match my energy of being able to go places.
Back it up. Let's go.
Let's go. You know, we're going to go on a trip. We're going to go shoot. I love going to concert. You going to concert with me. Like, I'm ready to enjoy doing stuff, because when I had the 4 kids, like, I had 2 babies and 2 older, and it was the imbalance of being able to do the things I wanted to do, because I was so busy. I was consumed with the whole time was consumed with them. But I loved it though, because when I look back and I'm like, man, there were so much joys that I had. Good moments, bad moments, but at the end of the day, to know that this person, you know, is needing me, you know, and they'll call me Mar, and I'm like, oh, Mar, you know, Mar, you know. So those are like little things that I just love, you know, like when it's with the little kids and stuff. But now I'm like, I gotta have the older kids. I gotta, you know, and I can change my preferences anytime. You know, you can. One thing that people don't know is that you can have you can state what you want to take and what you don't want to take. You can take special needs kids, and there's a need for that. You can take just all girls, because there's a need for that. All boys, they have this disorder. That's like, there's so many different variations of what you can take.
Right.
Me, I'm more basic level. So kids that can do for themselves, like even if you have a slight disorder or something like that, ain't nothing that I can't handle in that regards. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that folk may not know. But if you don't want to be, if being a foster parent isn't your calling, but there's still a need, whether it's being a Casa, they need Casas, they need respite providers, people who just want to watch the kids, babysitters. If you know someone that's a foster parent, find what you can do for them. Because there's just little things like, and I will say, I attend a Lake Point Church in Rockwall, and they have a great foster system, and the people that I got involved with, they the RZ Life Group, they are a good group that definitely took me in and helped me. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to handle half the stuff that I had to handle. And they, when I got a placement, they, like, what do you need? What do you need? If they had to send me groceries or send me a car seat, or I even had friends that went and got me clothes because I couldn't leave to go get clothes. When they first came, that first 24 hours is crucial. The first 72 hours is crucial because you got to do so much. You got to take them to the doctor. You got to figure out what school they go to. There's so much you have to do. There is a strict timeline. They will give you a packet and say, hey, this is what you got to do within the next 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. And a lot of people don't know that. It's not like you got to get them checked out. You got to find their doctor. It's a lot, but because I've done it so many times, it's easy for me.
Gotcha.
And I will say that there's we have to do progress notes. I hate doing those. I don't like, because you have to type about what they've done within the whole month. Even though when I was at the shelter, we did it by the day. Like, we had to write 3 times a day on what their whole day consists of. But it's good because it helps them know, like, behaviors, anything that we've had to deal with. If we went on outings, if they had visits, like, it's a lot of different stuff. There's a lot into being a foster parent. That's why some people may not want to do it, because it's not just you get kids.
You definitely have to have a passion for it.
Yeah, you have to have a passion for it, and you got to be able and
the patience.
The patience, and knowing that there's a lot of paperwork. You got to sign a lot. You got to record a lot. You got to file a lot. Like, I got paperwork upon paperwork, books upon books of just stuff that I needed that consisted of over one child.
Yeah. So what would you, I know we winded down on time there, what would you leave people with to understand about this conversation in fostering? You
be a good resource to help the people, to help the kids, or to help the foster parent, to educate yourself on the needs, on what you can do. Like I said, if you know someone who's a foster parent, ask them what they need. Ask them what you can do for them, because they need every bit of support. Whether it's a good job, like my sister, she had many calls at her job in which, I'm trying to think. She was like, oh yeah, my brother's a foster parent or something like that. They're like, oh hey, tell him I said good job, or he has a special heart and all that stuff. So just educate yourself and do everything that you can to help and meet the need.
Gotcha. I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank Brother Alcorn for being here.
We ain't in church.
But I'm saying,
Brother Alcorn.
After you did what you said, you done minister to the people today.
Oh, well, hey.
Which has been a very eye-opening thing, to talk about. Again, want to share the fact that this is Foster Awareness Month. If you leave everybody your tagline and everything where they can find
I will.
Because if they definitely have any questions, you're open to answering people.
Yes. I have Facebook. I have everything. We can get them resources and that. All that.
And I'll drop everything through there, man. Yeah. But I do thank you for being here. If you like this conversation, leave comments. Let them know. I'll definitely direct you to this man to ask any question. Especially if you're talking about want to get into the fostering business and a parenting business and doing what you feel like you have a passion to do. Like you said, it's something that you don't want to just jump in without being educated on. So you definitely want to reach out and see if you could be a resource to somebody. See if you could be a help, because even if you don't foster parent, you may can do what he said his village did, and everybody was just there to go through the journey and help in many ways that they could, from babysitting on down to anything else that was needed. So take this time, man, to really get educated on it and understand what's going on. That's your main man in the building, Corey Espy. I thank my special guest, Lamar Alcorn, for being here and sharing with us about fostering, the adoption business, and what you can and can't do. And I've learned now that I can't hit. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more episodes, man. You know how we do it right there. Click on the link, subscribe, make sure you follow and share. We'll holler at you the next time.